What if I told you this? The only thing standing between you and the life you want is not money, not talent, not even luck. It's belief, but not ordinary belief. I'm talking about the kind of belief the world calls delusion. The kind that makes people laugh at you, doubt you, even label you insane. Yet history shows us something strange. The men who were mocked as delusional, the men who were ridiculed for their impossible visions, they are the ones who bent the world to their will. Because here's the Machiavellian truth. Reality doesn't belong to the most logical. It belongs to the most convincing. And nothing convinces more than a man who refuses to doubt himself. Niccolò Machiavelli, the man accused of being ruthless, cold and manipulative, understood something most people miss. He said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." What does that mean? It means people rarely see the truth. They see what you project. They follow confidence, not accuracy. If you walk into a room with quiet certainty, people assume you know something they don't. If you stand tall when everyone else doubts, people question themselves instead of you. That's the seed of delusional belief. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about creating a new one through the sheer force of conviction. Think of the men we call visionaries today. Elon Musk was called delusional when he said he'd colonize Mars. Steve Jobs was called crazy for believing a tiny box of glass could replace computers. Muhammad Ali called himself the greatest long before the world agreed. Were they delusional? Yes, but their delusion wasn't weakness. It was fuel. Here's where psychology comes in. Humans are wired to follow confidence. Not truth, not facts, confidence. Women test men constantly, not because they want to destroy them, but because deep down, female psychology seeks certainty. A man who cannot hold his belief under pressure loses her attraction. The same is true in society. Bosses promote those who act like leaders before they become leaders. Investors give money to entrepreneurs who sell the dream, even when the product barely exists. Followers gather around people who seem unshakable. The world rewards delusion when it's carried with conviction, because most people are too afraid to risk belief. They need someone else to do it first, and that is where your power lies. But here's the warning. Delusional self-belief is a double-edged sword. If you fake confidence without building strength underneath, you will be exposed. Machiavelli himself warned rulers, appear powerful, yes, but back that appearance with strategy. A prince who relies only on illusions eventually loses his throne. This is where many men fail. They take delusional self-belief as arrogance, as reckless overconfidence. They strut without skill. They shout without results. And sooner or later, reality crushes them. The Machiavellian way is different. It's about weaponizing delusion strategically, projecting absolute belief, while working in silence to ensure reality eventually catches up to your vision. That is the difference between a fool and a future king. So the question is this: how do you build delusional self-belief without becoming a fool? How do you carry yourself with unshakable conviction, while still grounding yourself in strategy, discipline, and mastery? The answer is simpler than most people want to admit. Belief is a muscle, and just like any muscle, it grows through pressure, through resistance. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly believe you're unstoppable. You forge that belief in silence, in the small, invisible moments when no one is watching. It starts when you set a promise to yourself, and you keep it. Wake up when you said you would. Train when you said you would. Finish the work when your mind screams to quit. Each time you keep a promise, you stack evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. And that evidence becomes confidence, not arrogance, not fantasy. Confidence rooted in action. But here's where the Machiavellian twist comes in. Once you have even a little evidence, you amplify it. You project it outward as if it's already multiplied 100 times. That's delusional belief, grounded in truth, but projected far beyond your current reality. Now let me tell you the painful truth. Most men will never dare to live this way. Why? Because they're chained by the approval of others. They crave validation. They want the world to clap for them before they even begin. But Machiavelli would laugh at that weakness. He knew the world doesn't clap for the man who asks for approval. It claps for the man who takes it. For the man who moves with such certainty, others are forced to believe. Think about it. When you first declare a bold vision, people won't believe you. They'll mock you. They'll test you. They'll remind you of every failure in your past. And this is where weak men fold. They shrink back. They think, maybe they're right. Maybe I was delusional after all. But the strong, the Machiavellian, he understands this moment is a test, a psychological war. The world must resist you at first, because if belief was easy, everyone would be powerful. Resistance is proof you're on the right path. Let me share something with you. Every great figure in history before they were called genius was first called insane. Einstein, Galileo, Tesla. Every single one of them stood alone in their belief before the world caught up. That's the brutal truth. Your environment will resist you, mock you, pressure you until you break, or you prove them wrong. So ask yourself, when everyone doubts you, when everyone turns their back, will you still believe? That's where the power is born, not in comfort, not in applause, but in silence, in defiance, in your ability to stand alone with nothing but belief as your weapon. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. The world doesn't care if your belief is realistic. It doesn't care if it's delusional. It only cares if you win. The man who believed he could conquer an empire was called delusional until he conquered it. The man who believed he could fly was called insane until the first plane lifted off the ground. The man who believed he could change the course of technology was called arrogant until his devices were in every hand. Do you see the pattern? The world laughs, then it watches, then it kneels. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He knew power isn't about what's true. It's about what people perceive to be true. If you carry yourself with absolute conviction, you shape perception. And if you shape perception long enough, it becomes reality. This is why delusional self-belief isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of psychological warfare. Because here's the dark psychology secret. People will doubt their own eyes before they doubt a man who never doubts himself. So how do you weaponize this in your life? Step 1, build small wins. Stack evidence of discipline. Prove to yourself privately that you are trustworthy. Step 2, amplify those wins outward. Project yourself as if you are already 10 steps ahead. Not with arrogance, but with calm certainty. Step 3, hold the frame under fire. When doubted, stay unmoved. When mocked, stay silent. When tested, stay grounded. Because here's the thing. Power isn't about shouting louder than the crowd. It's about standing so firm, so unshaken, that the crowd quiets itself. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better for a leader to be feared than loved." Because fear and respect come from the perception of absolute conviction. And once people believe you cannot be broken, they begin to follow, they begin to invest, they begin to bend reality to your vision. Now I want you to pause for a second. Forget the world, forget women, forget society. Ask yourself this: do you believe in you? Not when it's easy, not when people are clapping, not when everything is going your way, but when you're alone, when you're doubted, when you're broke, tired, and questioned by everyone. Can you still hold your belief then? Can you still stand tall when the evidence says you're crazy? Can you still look in the mirror and say, "This is who I am. This is who I will become. Nothing will break me"? That is the real test. The inner war, and it's a war most men lose. But if you win it, if you carry delusional belief through the storms, eventually the world will call it genius. Eventually the world will call it destiny. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the applause. Stop waiting for the world to believe in you first. The only person who needs to believe is you. And once you do, once you refuse to doubt yourself, no matter how impossible your vision looks, you become unstoppable. The world will laugh. Let it laugh. The world will resist. Let it resist. Because in the end, history only remembers the men who refuse to break. So hold your delusion, sharpen it into conviction, and walk into the world with the quiet, unshakable certainty of a man who already knows. He's won. Not someday, not eventually, but now, because in your mind, it's already real. And sooner or later, the world will be forced to catch